Woke up in the middle of nowhere with four strangers lying beside me. Before I could figure out what was going on, soldiers were pointing arrows at my head. Worst of all, the squad leader was leering at me, saying, "This pretty one, send him to the captain to enjoy." My legs went weak, but I couldn't let my words weaken. Taking a deep breath, I yelled out a phrase that could either save my life or end it. In the dim twilight, I slowly opened my eyes. The world was spinning, and I felt dizzy. Where's this? I was just at the museum a moment ago. How did I end up in this godforsaken place in the blink of an eye? I struggled to sit up and was startled to find four other people lying nearby, all with top knots and dressed in coarse linen short robes, a perfect ancient getup. One was as sturdy as an ox, one as handsome as a celebrity, a middle-aged man around 40 or 50, and a guy as skinny as a beanpole. The five of us formed a circle. In the middle was a tattered straw basket, next to which were a clay pot and wooden bowls filled with something dark. It smelled like vinegar. We looked at each other, none of us speaking. "Wang, Dr. Wang," the middle-aged man ventured. I was stunned. It was me. "How do we get here? And why do you look like this?" I rushed to the riverbank and looked down. The water reflected a youthful face, no older than 17 or 18, sparse brows, bright eyes, and a slightly prominent nose bridge. I could be considered handsome, but my complexion was too pale, my frame too frail, making me seem timid. Beside me, uncontrollable laughter broke out. That handsome youth was gesticulating excitedly. "We time traveled. We time traveled. Ha ha ha." The burly man cracked his knuckles. "This is ancient times. You can't be a star here. What good is good looks? Ancient times are great. We can plagiarize poems and lyrics," the handsome youth said, his eyes sparkling. "We need to divide them properly. Each of us copies one category. Don't repeat any," the burly man sneered. "If I told you to copy Dream of the Red Chamber, could you write it from memory? Try it." The handsome youth looked at me. "You're a PhD. What's your field?" "Literature. Second year. Not graduated yet." The burly man gave a contemptuous smile. "That's useless. Time travel won't get you far." I ignored him. I had no mind for such nonsense right now. Forget copying poems Li Bai, Du Fu, Su Shi, Xi and Qiji, which of them were ever truly successful? We don't even know which dynasty we're in, so what's the point of talking about that? Don't you think there's something off with the way we've been speaking since we woke up? The three of them paused. "Peach blossoms," I slowly uttered word by word. "Peach blossoms bloom, peach blossoms fade." After saying this, my expression relaxed, as if those few words had taken a lot out of me. The three repeated it in confusion, then suddenly realized what Dr. Wang had just said was actually standard Mandarin. "That's right. Since we woke up, we've been speaking in a tone we've never heard before Middle Chinese. It's completely different from modern pronunciation. So we've traveled to some dynasty between the Han and Tang." The middle-aged man asked. I nodded. "I specialize in pre-Tang literature and Tang Song intellectual history, and I've also studied the cultural history of the Han dynasties. If we really have traveled through time, the Han or Tang would be best. At least we'd be familiar with the historical details and could avoid danger." "That's not the point." The handsome young man waved his hand. "The point is we can copy song lyrics." The strong man said, "How many can you recite?" "For the four of us, each person gets a few poems." "Doctor, you'll have to contribute." I didn't respond. Even the Tang dynasty, CI poetry was considered a trivial skill. Liu Yong and Jiang Kuei were great lyricists, weren't they? One had spent half his life in depravity, the other was destitute for life. They wanted to rely on a few Song dynasty poems to make a living dream on. Now they should be thinking about how to get back. The middle-aged man's face was full of worry. "Go back? I'm not going back. Time travel is harder than winning the lottery. Especially since I've transmigrated into such a handsome guy," the handsome youth said, getting more and more excited. "Here, I can have wind when I want wind, rain when I want rain. Isn't that better than going back to hauling bricks?" The strong man laughed at him. "Of course I want to go back. I didn't transmigrate into a young body." The two were about to start arguing again when I stopped them. "Let's talk business first. Do you remember the scene before we transmigrated? In the museum, looking at a soul jar unearthed from an ancient tomb. Right? I was looking at it too." So the five of us were gathered around that display case. We exchanged glances, then remembered there was still someone lying in the grass. We ran over to check. The thin man was struggling to sit up. When he saw us, his face instantly turned pale. The handsome youth smiled warmly. Dude, I've got great news. We've traveled through time. From now on, the world is ours. The strong man curled his lip. So cringy. None of them noticed that the thin man's body was trembling. I patted the thin man on the shoulder. Are you okay? He trembled even more. The burly man sneered. Your mental fortitude is too weak. I glanced at the skinny guy and said, let's stand back where we were in the museum. Except for the skinny guy, who was crouching on the ground with his head in his arms, the other four returned to their original positions and found that they indeed matched where they had woken up with the grass basket in the middle. We opened the grass basket. Inside was an exquisite celadon jar, its surface adorned with embossed carvings, and a lid shaped like a pavilion with towers and terraces. It was the soul vase, the very one we saw in the museum. The handsome youth asked what a soul vase was. I said, ancient burial objects, said to have the power to capture and calm the soul. My gaze was fixed entirely on the carvings on the vase. This was the vermilion bird. The flying vermilion bird leads the way, driving the chariot of Tai. The vermilion bird was painted on the soul vase to guide the soul. If the soul vase could bring us through time, it must also be able to take us back. The middle-aged man's voice trembled, right? I nodded, though I wasn't sure. Let me take a look. The secret of the soul vase lies on its surface. The burly man pulled the soul vase toward himself. There were words on it. Little scholar, let go. I released my grip. The burly man walked toward the river with the soul jar. I'll come with you. No need. No need. Just wait here. He suddenly broke into a sprint, and I chased after him. The burly man raised the soul jar high and smashed it hard against the ground. With a crash, the jar shattered into pieces. He then swept his leg, kicking most of the fragments into the rushing current. I rushed to the riverbank. The water was vast and murky, not a trace of the fragments remained. The middle-aged man, nearly mad, tried to jump into the river. I held him back tightly. Calm down. What the hell is wrong with you? The handsome young man stared at the burly man in shock. The burly man said, are you stupid? If they figure out how to use the soul jar and take us back, what then? You bastard. The middle-aged man's eyes reddened as he lunged at the burly man. Stop, I suddenly shouted, then quickly ran toward the thin man who had just stood up. Where are you going? The thin man forced a smile. Now nowhere. I stared at him intently. What's your favorite movie? What? The handsome young man was completely confused. The thin man's facial muscles twitched even more violently. Suddenly, he shoved me. I stumbled and knocked over the vinegar bowl, splashing half a bowl of black vinegar all over my pant leg. The skinny man spun around and bolted, screaming hysterically, Ghost! An evil spirit has possessed him. Chase him, he's not from modern times. We chased through the woods, the skinny man shrieking in terror. Help! There's a ghost. Halt! Who goes there? Several shouts rang out at once. The sky had darkened, and a few blurry figures appeared ahead. Ella! The skinny man's body stiffened. Then he pitched forward. Swoosh! Another sharp whistle cut through the air. The burly man swung his arm and pulled the middle-aged man in front of him as a shield. A long arrow pierced through his throat. The middle-aged man collapsed, his body twitching violently. Blood gushed from his throat and mouth. This was the first time I had witnessed death with my own eyes. No, it's murder. The three of you. Keep your heads down and eyes closed. Don't move, or you'll be shot on sight. The chaotic sound of footsteps on grass grew closer. I didn't dare lift my head at all. This one's dead. This one's dead too. After 2 reports, someone barked, all of you, stand up. I glanced at the middle-aged man half soaked in blood, then slowly stood up. Opposite us were 9 men in old gray clothes. 2 held bows with arrows knocked at us. 5 held sabers, and 1 held a spear. The man in the center had the newest clothes, a saber at his waist. Don't kill us. We know many skills, the handsome young man said, his voice trembling. The man in the center spoke. How many of you are there? No one answered. Speak quickly, or you'll die. The handsome young man blurted out. Just the 3 of us. No one else. When did you cross the border? Cross the border? We didn't cross any border. The burly man said urgently. If you didn't cross the border, why are you sneaking through Akulin? I am the squad leader of the Ak garrison. Yesterday, I received a dispatch from Luyang about a northern spy infiltrating. Is it you? So they weren't bandits, but government soldiers. I breathed a sigh of relief. No. What nonsense? We're wronged. Then I suddenly spoke up. If we were sneaking, we wouldn't run. nor would we shout. Everyone looked at me. The squad leader was taken aback, then said, "You might be fleeing pursuit. Running like this, there must be pursuers behind you. We've stopped for so long. Where are the pursuers?" The dark man holding the spear gave me a deep look. The squad leader asked gruffly about their place of household registration. The burly man answered first, "I'm from Lingnan." The handsome youth puffed out his chest. "I come from the overseas country of Great Britain." The squad leader frowned and looked at me. "And you?" "A vagrant." In medieval times, vagrant specifically referred to people without household registration. The squad leader sneered and pointed at the burly man and the handsome youth. "Since you're from Lingnan and whatever not country, produce your travel permits." A guasa was a travel pass in medieval times, similar to a modern ID card. The two looked blank. It was obvious at a glance they were lying. The squad leader glanced at me. "Vagrants aren't under my jurisdiction. Go to Lingxi. If you're lucky, you can get some bean porridge." The burly man immediately said, "I'm also a vagrant." The handsome youth followed, "Me too." The squad leader cursed, "You two, shut up. Either northern spies or runaway slaves. Woozy, take that real vagrant away first." The burly man panicked. "He's fake." My heart sank. If he says I'm not real, then he's not real either. "We're together." The burly man shouted and looked at the handsome youth. The handsome youth paused for a second, then nodded. "We're together." I let out a breath. I'm not with them. It was together. The two of them clamored in unison. I was like a crab, finally about to crawl out of the basket, only to be dragged back by the other two. This damn mess is too chaotic. The squad leader rubbed his temples. Looking annoyed, the soldier named Woozy walked up to the squad leader, whispered a few words. The squad leader's gaze swept over Wang Yang and the other two in turn, gradually broke into a smile. "Since we can't sort this out, you'll all stay. You've fallen into my hands. Life won't be easy for you, but the three of you have good looks, especially this one." The squad leader looked the handsome youth up and down. Clucking his tongue, he said, "As pretty as a girl." Then he looked at Wang Yang. Lecherously smiling, he said, "This one works too. What are you going to do?" The handsome youth had a bad feeling. The squad leader had a sinister grin. "What are you doing? You'll find out what we're doing soon enough. Our team leader has a taste for this kind of thing. You're in for a treat, DM in it." Wang Yang's mind went blank. He felt his scalp tingle. In the medieval era, male homosexuality was quite prevalent. Even during the 16 Kingdoms period, Murongchong, the ruler of Western Yen, was taken as a male favorite. How could I have forgotten about that? The soldiers burst into laughter upon hearing the squad leader's words. Wang Yang and his two companions turned pale with fear. The squad leader waved his hand. "Arrest them all. The two handsome ones will be sent to the captain. The strong one is for the clerk." While the soldiers were laughing and joking, they no longer aimed their bows at the three. The strong man was bold and decisive. He suddenly dashed off to the west, shouting at the top of his lungs, "Run east quick. Hide your money well." This single sentence carried two intentions. First, to make Wang Yang and the handsome youth run east, distracting the soldiers' attention. Second, to hint to the soldiers that Wang Yang and the other had money on them, making them more valuable targets than himself. The strong man's plan was good in theory, but in practice, it didn't work out that way at all. First, the handsome youth was terrified, so much so that he couldn't tell east from west. He simply ran after the strong man. Second, Wang Yang didn't move from where he stood. It wasn't that he didn't want to flee, but because he thought the other side had 9 men, and they were also carrying bows and arrows. The chance of successfully escaping was too slim. In the end, the burly man underestimated the soldiers' reaction speed and the power of cold weapons. He had only taken a few steps when a sharp arrow landed right in front of his foot. The burly man reflexively raised his hands, daring not to run anymore. The handsome young man also froze in fear. "Run. Keep running. This is a mulberry wood bough. Even if you run 20 more steps, I can shoot you like a rabbit. You two little bastards dare to run? Let's see how I deal with you." The squad leader pointed, and 4 soldiers quickly stepped forward. In pairs, one on each side, they roughly pinned down the burly man. "Handsome young man," the burly man shouted, "I know how to make salt refined salt. I can." Before he could finish his sentence, his lower abdomen was struck hard by a knife handle. He immediately bent over in pain, unable to straighten up. At the same time, the burly man was shouting. The handsome young man was also yelling. The wind's swift, the sky high. Apes wail mournfully. The islet clear, the sand white, birds fly back. Endless falling leaves, then he met a fate similar to the burly man's. The knife handle struck his mouth hard. His lips instantly swelled. His teeth were drenched in blood. He just couldn't figure out why other transmigrators could enjoy a life of romance and luxury, while for him, it turned out like this. He was supposed to be the main character, or those two shouting. The squad leader asked, puzzled. The dark-faced soldier beside him holding a spear was also baffled. One seemed to be saying he was a salt cellar. The other was reciting lyrics. As the saying goes, casting pearls before swine. The two transmigrators each shouted. Their special moves earned them not favor but a beating. The reason lay not only in the soldiers' rough nature, but also in the era. At that time, common people knew mostly only two types of salt, yellow salt and white salt, further divided by form into powdered salt, crystal salt, loose salt, and coarse salt. There was no such concept as refined salt, much less any awareness of it. Not only was there no concept, but at that time, such a thing simply did not exist. The term refined salt. If modern refined salt were placed before these soldiers, they would naturally regard it as something good, but if only spoken of. Don't blame these uncouth fellows for failing to grasp the idea. As for Du Fu's ascending the height, that is indeed a masterpiece for the ages. Yet, against the backdrop of that era, the accepted poetic forms were the 4 and 5 character lines, with 5 character poems particularly flourishing. 7 character lines were mostly reserved for folk ballads and songs, though the few literati did write proper 7 character poems. They were like a drop in the ocean, far inferior in both quality and quantity to the 5 character poems. But if a connoisseur of poetry were present, they might have wanted to hear the handsome youth continue reciting. However, the soldiers present were all rough men, and even the black-clad spearmen, who could recognize quite a few characters, could not grasp the poem's meaning, let alone the others. The squad leader pointed at Wang Yang. Arrest this one too. This one is more obedient. The captain will surely like him. 2 soldiers strode toward Wang Yang, reaching out with large hands to grab his arm. Wang Yang's expression changed. He stepped back and widened his eyes, gathering all his strength. He roared, I am a son of the Wang clan of Langia. Whoever dares touch me shall face clan extermination. Wang Yang had been building up to this roar for a long time. He was prepared to either succeed or die trying, like a cornered wolf at the end of its rope. Even a trapped beast fights back, unleashing unimaginable power in desperation. Thus his voice rang out like a thunderclap. His presence roared like a tiger or leopard, stunning the 2 soldiers into a moment of shock. The phrase clan extermination meant eradicating the entire family. Wang Yang's shout was like a bomb being dropped, blowing everyone away in confusion. All eyes turned to Wang Yang. For a moment, no one spoke. Wang Yang had carefully considered this lie before telling it. Earlier, through phonological analysis, he deduced that the era was the Middle Ancient period. Then that person had also said, Northern spies and so on. So it was highly likely that this was an era of North-South opposition, and his current location was precisely the territory of the southern state. Although Eastern Wu in the Three Kingdoms period was also a North-South divide, and the late Tang and 5 dynasties also saw a pattern of North-South confrontation. In terms of time frame, none lasted as long as the Southern and Northern dynasties period. So from a probabilistic standpoint, he placed his bet on the Southern and Northern dynasties. The Southern and Northern dynasties were an era of aristocratic clans and powerful families. The division between nobles and commoners was extremely strict. Children of high-born families wielded immense power, while commoners and lowly people labored like beasts of burden. If he could successfully impersonate an aristocratic family member, he would surely intimidate the soldiers. But there were many prominent clans in the Jiangnan region. Wang, Xie Yuan, Xiao Gu, Lu Zhuzhang. One could list a very long string of them. Which clan should he pretend to be from? Wang Yang thought, since either way it would be an impersonation, then why not just pretend to be the top noble family south of the Yangtze, the Langia Wang clan? He remembered that Mao Hongguang, in his study on the politics of aristocratic families during the 2 Jin and Southern and Northern dynasties, had once tallied the origins of officials above the 5th rank in the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties. Among them, the most numerous was the Wang clan. From the Eastern Qi to the Southern Qi, the political status of aristocratic families rose and fell. But the Wang clan was always an unquestionably first-class noble house. Assuming the surname Langya was the safest bet. Of course, this so-called safest was only relative. If this were the time when Wang Dun of the Eastern Qi was rebelling, and Wang Dao led the Wang clan members to plead guilty at the imperial court, or if it were under the rule of the Sun family of Eastern Wu, then pretending to be of the Wang clan might actually backfire. Moreover, top aristocratic families all had genealogies and household registries. How easy could it be to impersonate them? Besides, Wang Yang didn't even know the exact dynasty he was in, so how could he fabricate details? In short, the risks involved. It was indeed quite substantial, but Wang Yang, determined to keep his dignity intact, in a moment of desperation, had no choice but to grit his teeth and take a risky gamble. The squad leader was stunned for a moment, but was the first to burst out laughing. If he had had water in his mouth, he definitely would have spit it out far. The other soldiers also laughed heartily in unison, as if Wang Yang were the biggest joke imaginable. The squad leader laughed so hard he bent over, pointing at Wang Yang. You son of a bitch really know how to make up stories. With your shabby look. You couldn't be born into the Wang family, even after 8 lifetimes. Ha ha ha. Hearing the squad leader's words, Wang Yang first breathed a sigh of relief. His biggest fear had been that these people had never even heard of the Wang clan. Now, the soldier's reaction showed that his bet had paid off. The era he had traveled to was precisely the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties period. But as they say, clothes make the man. Wang Yang was dressed too shabbily, without even a belt around his waist, just a hemp rope tied there. Not to mention the Wang clan. Even ordinary folk dressed better than Wang Yang. If he couldn't properly explain his clothing, this act couldn't go on. Wang Yang first said he was a drifter, and now claims to be of the Wang clan. Hardly credible from the start. An average, slower-witted person would have scrambled to explain the discrepancy. But Wang Yang showed no intention of explaining. Instead, he gave a cold laugh. Me poor? A single coral tree at my home could buy all your lives. He glanced casually at his own clothes. You think I'm poor? He said slowly. This outfit is just something I changed into to avoid bandits. You judge by clothes, not by a person. No wonder you have eyes but fail to see. With that, he shook his head and sighed. I don't have time for your bullshit. The squad leader scowled. Third, Ding Nine hold him down, then slap him twice. 2 soldiers advanced on Wang Yang. Wang Yang stood still. He sneered. If you two want to have your entire clan exterminated, 3 generations wiped out, then come on. The 3rd soldier and Ding Jiu saw Wang Yang standing firm as a mountain. Speaking with such certainty, they hesitated. The squad leader cursed. Are you idiots? Still believing him? Even if he really is from the Wang clan. They can't wipe out someone's entire clan. It's obviously a commoner pretending. Such a simple logic. Can't you see it? Ha ha. Wang Yang laugid heartily, as if the squad leader had told the funniest joke in the world. But in truth, the one telling jokes was Wang Yang. What the squad leader said was right. Wang Yang had to admit that his words about exterminating the clan were a bit over the top. It was just that he had been too terrified at the time and had wanted to immediately intimidate the soldiers. So he used the threat of clan extermination to scare them. If he had had enough time to prepare, he definitely would have crafted the lie more convincingly. But the situation was urgent, and he really couldn't spare the time to think it through. Now he had to make this lie sound convincing. Wang Yang let out a few laughs. Haven't you ever heard the saying, usurping authority and overstepping rank is called treasonous rebellion? He looked at the squad leader, a hint of pity and mockery in his eyes. Right, you're just a lowly squad leader. What would you know about presence? Presence, he had to have presence. While the squad leader's expression flickered uncertainly, Wang Yang shook his sleeves and glared angrily. He bellowed, the treasonous rebel shall be slain, his family exterminated, and his wealth confiscated. My family has been noble for generations. My second uncle serves as a palace attendant in the capital. If anything happens to me, it will certainly reach the emperor's ears. Did you think I was joking when I said I'd wipe out your entire clan? Wang Yang clasped his hands behind his back. His voice and expression were harsh. No one noticed that his hand was uncontrollably twitching behind him. His fingertips were icy cold. To tell a lie convincingly, apart from presence, the key lies in details. A lie without details. A lie without details. Like a castle in the air. One hears it and knows it's false. So Wang Yang filled in two details here. One was the great crime of rebellion and patricide, and the other was that his second uncle held the office of a Sanchi attendant. The crime of rebellion and patricide existed in both the Han and Tang dynasties. Wang Yang knew this, but compared to the Han and Tang, he wasn't too well versed in the history of the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties. So he didn't know whether the crime of rebellion and patricide actually existed in the current era. He deduced it logically. The Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties fell between the Han and Tang, and many laws and institutions, bridging the past and future, continued without change. Since both the Han and Tang had it, the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties probably had it too. Thus, he chose to use this crime to intimidate others. As for the specific punishment for the crime of rebellion and patricide, he exaggerated it greatly, aiming to strike first with his words. He was gambling that these soldiers didn't know the specific provisions of the great crime of rebellion and patricide. As for assigning the non-existent second uncle the position of a Sanchi attendant, this was also considered carefully. The so-called position of the yellow and Sanchi. Thus one must excel in both personal qualities and family status. Huang refers to the gentleman of a yellow gate. San refers to the cavalier attendant. Run refers to personal character and talent. Min refers to family background and status. The offices of Huang Min and Sanchi were high-ranking in the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties. Only those from distinguished high-ranking families could be selected for these positions. Moreover, the Sanchi officer was a personal attendant of the emperor. This also subtly echoed what Wang Yang had said earlier. The phrase reached the emperor's ears. It could be said that Wang Yang's luck had not run out. If any scholar official had been present, they would have known at once that this was empty intimidation. Not to mention that the soldiers arresting him could not even be considered a crime of evil rebellion. Even if it truly were evil rebellion, there was no rule of executing the three clans for it. But these soldiers understood none of this. They had heard of the crime evil rebellion, often confusing it with treason and other terrible crimes like inhumanity. They only knew it was a huge crime that ordinary people could never have the chance to commit. Who would have thought they would encounter it today? When they then heard Wang Yang say his uncle was a high official like a Sanchi, in their eyes, that was a figure of immense stature, even the highest officer of their Akushu garrison. In that person's second uncle's eyes would probably amount to nothing at all. If they truly offended such a person, the consequences would be unthinkable. At that moment, Wang Yang's image in their eyes began to change. He was no longer a timid, thin, and frivolous brat. His expression now seemed proud, his words confident and assertive. He even began to exude an air that dared not be challenged. No one dared to laugh anymore. The two soldiers who had previously tried to seize him quickly stepped back. They dared not claim whether it would lead to the annihilation of their clan. But they knew one law. Those of low rank who fight those of high rank are all rebels. And so, even the squad leader held his breath, sinking into silent contemplation. He couldn't allow them time to think it over. It was like advertising. The moment a crack appeared, he had to push forward relentlessly, pouring all his ideas into their minds at once. Wang Yang nonchalantly brushed the frayed threads off his sleeve, pretending not to care. If not for his clothes being far too shabby, those few flicks of dust would have carried an air of nobility. To tell you the truth, this young master's surname is Wang, given name Yang, courtesy name Jian, taken from the Book of Songs, Yong Feng section, The Nobleman and His Lady, which says, "His grace is pure and bright, his countenance radiant. Had I not encountered bandits along the way, I would have met up with the men my uncle sent for me by now. Why would I be stuck in this wretched place?" Wang Yang recited that line from the Book of Songs not to show off his learning, but to reveal his status through this subtle gesture. In the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties, literary grace was prized over martial prowess. Noble scions prided themselves on cultural refinement. Children of common families could neither afford tutors nor buy books, so even if they wished to study, they couldn't. And even if they did learn, there was hardly any path for advancement. This was the so-called monopoly on knowledge. At this time, the era of aristocratic clans still held sway, unlike after the imperial examinations when the commoner class rose. If Wang Yang had transmigrated to the Tang or Song dynasties, then there would be no point in showing off that erudition. More importantly, it was the last sentence Wang Yang said. That sentence seemed like a casual complaint, but it was actually an important foreshadowing. Wang Yang hinted to the soldiers, "My second uncle has already sent someone to pick me up. Even if you want to silence me, you'll have to consider the risks." Sure enough, as soon as Wang Yang finished speaking, the soldiers' looks toward him changed. Shock mixed with a hint of awe. Of course, there was still some doubt. The handsome young man felt indignant inside. Why did they listen when he recited a poem? But they didn't listen to me? Am I not the protagonist? Is Du Fu's poem not better than that line from the Book of Songs, which doesn't even have a fixed number of characters? Then he thought, so the Lang Yuan clan is that formidable. It actually scared them all. The squad leader swallowed hard and probed. Then, do you have any documents on you to prove your identity? His tone was now completely different from before. Wang Yang frowned and scolded. Didn't you hear what I said? I encountered bandits on the way and couldn't even keep my clothes and carriage safe, let alone the documents. The squad leader said in a difficult tone, but without proof. Wang Yang interrupted impatiently. Use my genealogy and household registration as proof. How can you say there's no proof? Feel free to check. Not to mention that Wang Yang is from the Lang Yuan clan, a top-ranked family. Even if it were a low-ranking scholar-official family, a squad leader would have no authority to check household registries or genealogies, just as they were at a loss. Wang Yang yenned, "Forget it. I won't make things difficult for you. I'll just give you some proof." He looked at the soldier named Ding Jiao and said, "You, go pick up a twig for me." Ding Jiao shot a questioning look at the squad leader. The dark-skinned man holding a spear said to the squad leader, "Let me go." The squad leader nodded. The dark-skinned man quickly went to pick up a twig. He picked up 3 twigs in a row for Wang Yang to choose from. The dark-skinned man stopped 3 paces away from Wang Yang, resting the spear on his shoulder. He bent at the waist and offered the branch with both hands, his attitude extremely respectful. Ding Jiao was somewhat displeased, thinking that if he had known this would happen, he might as well have just picked it up himself. Under the norms of modern etiquette, polite speech had become second nature to Wang Yang. He was about to say a word of thanks, but remembering the identity he was pretending to be, he forcibly swallowed the words back. He casually grabbed a branch and began drawing on the ground. Everyone craned their necks to see, initially thinking he was about to write characters, but then they felt he seemed to be drawing a picture. The lines he drew twisted and turned, the patterns intricate, with small characters embedded in the middle. The design extremely complex. This is a talisman," exclaimed the squad leader and several soldiers. Wang Yang tossed the branch aside and said, "Take a good look. This is the most authentic Tong Guang talisman of the Celestial Master sect. Our Lang Yuan clan has passed down the way of the Celestial Masters for generations. Surely you know that?" What Wang Yang drew was a Dunhuang Taoist talisman from the collection of the Bibliothèque Nationale de France. To be honest, that's the only talisman he knows how to draw. From the perspective of cultural and intellectual history, Wang Yang is actually most proficient in Confucianism and Buddhism, with Taoism ranking last. So all that talk about the most authentic Tongguang talisman of the Celestial Masters, and such is pure deception. But the claim that the Lang Yuan clan has passed down the way of the Celestial Masters was actually verified by Mr. Chen Inca. Those soldiers surely wouldn't know about this, but he intends to use these vivid and confident details to intimidate these soldiers. Although Buddhism and Taoism were prevalent in the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties, ordinary people had limited knowledge. Even if they barely recognized the talisman, how could they know about whether the Tongguang talisman was authentic or not? As for whether the Lang Yuan clan had a family tradition of the Celestial Masters, they knew even less. They could not even imagine what the great clans ate on a daily basis, much less the knowledge and beliefs passed down within these families. However, they didn't know that many sons of the gentry believed in Buddhism and Taoism. Wang Yang's demeanor and manner of speaking had already made them somewhat believe in his identity. After seeing this talisman, they could not help but believe it even more. Seeing the awe and reverence in everyone's eyes, Wang Yang was delighted inside and thought he was about to pass this test, when two familiar but jarring voices suddenly rang out. I also bear the surname of Langya Wang. I'm also a member of the Wang clan of Langya. Holy shit. Wang Yang's heart instantly felt like 10,000 alpacas were stampeding through it. Hearing the shouts of the burly man and the handsome youth, Wang Yang wished he could slap them both dead on the spot. These two idiots actually had three choices: the best, the medium, and the worst. The best choice was to falsely claim to be attendants of the Wang clan of Langya, step forward to testify for Wang Yang, while simultaneously binding themselves to Wang Yang, forcing him to save them. As for the contradictions in his previous behavior, Wang Yang would be responsible for explaining everything. Zong se remet de silent. After Wang Yang succeeded in his impersonation, he would cry for help. As for what Wang Yang would say, it was entirely up to him. The worst plan was to follow suit, also pretending to be from the Langya Wang clan. It was already strange enough that a Langya Wang clansman appeared in this wilderness. Now two more suddenly showed up. Not only would it be hard to gain trust, but it would also undermine the credibility of Wang Yang's identity. Sure enough, after they shouted, the squad leader and others looked at Wang Yang with a bit more suspicion in their eyes. Wang Yang could certainly choose to acknowledge these two relatives, but the problem was that these two knew very little about the current era's history and culture. They simply couldn't pretend as convincingly as Wang Yang. Moreover, the three of them pretending to be from the same clan without prior coordination could easily be exposed. If they were interrogated separately and their stories compared, it would immediately blow their cover. But if Wang Yang did not acknowledge them, given their style of doing things, they would surely turn around and accuse Wang Yang of being an impostor. And then it would be a mess. Either way, both sides would be destroyed together. What should he do? Wang Yang needed to make a quick decision. All the soldiers were looking at Wang Yang. The squad leader was about to ask a question when Wang Yang walked straight toward the two men. The handsome young man and the sturdy man saw Wang Yang coming to rescue them, and they were both overjoyed. They paused for a moment, then started shouting brother, elder brother, and family in a chaotic attempt to claim kinship, unaware that the term Ji, elder brother, only appeared in the Tang dynasty, and during the Eastern Qin and Southern dynasties, no such address existed. When Wang Yang was halfway there, he pretended to be unsteady on his feet, almost tripping, then bent down to adjust his shoe as if it were natural, and with his left hand, he took the opportunity to squeeze hard on his pant leg, which was wet with vinegar. Although a lot of the vinegar had already evaporated, fortunately, he could still squeeze some out. Wang Yang stood up and walked over to the handsome young man. The handsome young man said, "Brother, hurry up and slap them." Wang Yang pressed the handsome young man's right arm with his left hand and slapped the handsome young man hard across the face with his right hand. The soldiers were stunned. The handsome young man's ears rang. He was immediately dazed from the slap. Wang Yang's face cold, he did not pause. He walked over to the sturdy man. The sturdy man glared and shouted, "You little bastard, you dare to move?" He shouted while desperately trying to dodge backward, but he was held down by two soldiers, unable to break free. Wang Yang pressed the sturdy man's right arm with his left hand, and with all his strength in his right hand, he fiercely slapped the sturdy man across the face. Wang Yang pointed at the sturdy man, now with ringing ears and a swollen face, and cursed, "You two dog spies. You infiltrate across the border and dare to impersonate our Langya Wang clan." What? The squad leader's eyes widened. All the soldiers were greatly shocked. He's a fake. He's not from the Langya Wang clan. He's an impostor. The handsome young man shouted first. "This little bastard is a fake. Fake. You mongrel. You dare hit me? He's a pretender." The burly man roared furiously. If not for the two soldiers holding him down tightly, he would have charged at Wang Yang to fight. Wang Yang had four intentions in slapping them. First, he used the chance to do something covert. As for the specifics, they will become clear shortly. Second, through physical harm, he delayed their reaction time. Third, to anger the two of them. to impair their logical and rational thinking. Fourth, and most importantly, he wanted to start a feud with the two of them in front of everyone, because in doing so, the testimony of the handsome youth and the strong man would seem more like retaliation for the slap he had just given. Their credibility and impact thus diminished. Sure enough, the two men's accusations didn't cause much of a stir. The soldiers were more concerned about another issue. The squad leader asked, "Young master, you just mentioned spies. What spies? Are they really northern spies?" Wang Yang stared at the squad leader, squinting slightly as if probing something. He asked, "You really don't know?" The squad leader felt a chill run through him. What do I know? Bullshit. What cups and plates? I don't even know what cups and plates are. He's framing us. Don't believe him. He's a fake. He's not from the Wang clan. He's not even a person from this world. He's lying. Lying. If you believe him, you're idiots. The handsome youth and the burly man, red-eyed, shouted hoarsely. Wang Yang said coldly, "Shut them up first." The squad leader, eager to clarify the matter of the northern spies, also annoyed by the noise from the handsome youth and the burly man, gestured to his men. The soldier struck both of them heavily in the abdomen with the hilt of his blade. They let out a groan and bent over in pain, unable to straighten up. The handsome young man, in agony, couldn't even speak, while the burly man was full of venom, still muttering incessantly. "Fake, he's fake. He's an impostor," though his voice was much lower now. Wang Yang said boldly to the squad leader, "Originally, given your position, you have no right to know this at all, but I need to use you now, so I don't mind telling you." Liu Yang sent a dispatch saying a northern spy has crossed the border. Did it say how they entered? The squad leader asked doubtfully. It said they snuck in. Wang Yang gave a cold sneer. They had someone on the inside. The squad leader was startled. A traitor? Wang Yang's eyes were sharp as he glanced around at everyone. Of course. Right here in the army. The soldiers listened in bewilderment. The squad leader also looked confused and asked, How did this come about? Where did you get this information, sir?" Wang Yang looked at the squad leader. He shook his head with a light smile. "This matter is of great consequence. It is not something you should know. I was attacked on the road, and I fear it is also related to this affair. If you're not afraid of being silenced later, I can tell you now." All the soldiers' expressions changed. The squad leader hurriedly said, "No need, no need. Young master, please do not tell us. We are but soldiers. How can we understand such matters?" Wang Yang nodded and said, "After the attack, I met 4 people while fleeing. We traveled together, and at night, I heard them speaking in the barbarian tongue." The squad leader's eyes widened. The young master actually understands the barbarian language. Just so. Everyone was bewildered. Wang Yang waved his hand, his expression light and carefree. "It's nothing worth mentioning, since this era is the Eastern Qi and Southern Dynasties. The North is naturally barbarian. Although I don't understand medieval barbarian languages, I can guess that English and barbarian tongues are vastly different. I speculated that these local soldiers probably didn't know barbarian languages. And even if there were, he could easily come up with another excuse. The purpose of speaking this English was merely to dazzle others, to add an air of mystery, and he deliberately spoke quickly and indistinctly, just to give others the impression that he was fluent. The soldiers, hearing Wang Yang speak a foreign tongue, couldn't help but feel more awed by him. They became even more respectful. The handsome youth shouted loudly, "That's English, you've been fooled. He's a fake, I can speak it too." "Fine, thank you, and you, this is English. Fake." The burly man struggled. He roared loudly, "This little bastard isn't from the Wang clan. He's lying. He's deceiving you. We are together." The two kept shouting. Several soldiers' attention was drawn to them. Even the squad leader kept glancing their way. Wang Yang knew they were starting to doubt. He said, "You're in luck without even realizing it. You've rendered a service. Unknowingly, you've accomplished a feat. These two, including the 2 you just killed, are all northern spies. Now cut off the cloth from the right sleeves of these 2. There are secret identity marks on them. You'll know once you look." As he spoke, he gestured at the specific spot on his right arm. The squad leader ordered, "Do as the young master says immediately." The soldier cut a piece of cloth from the right sleeves of the 2 with the tip of his knife. He handed it to the squad leader, who turned it over and over. There's nothing here," Wang Yang said contemptuously. "If it were that easy for you to see, then it wouldn't be a secret mark. He lifted his head and called out with great swagger, "Someone make a fire." The soldiers quickly piled up a simple small fire. He lit it with a flint. Then Wang Yang took the sleeve cloth. He roasted them over the fire in turn. Meanwhile, the burly man and the handsome young man kept cursing. They desperately asserted that Wang Yang's identity was false. "All right, come and look." Wang Yang handed over the sleeve cloth without changing his expression. The squad leader took it, and several soldiers gathered around. On the sleeve that previously showed nothing at all, a small brown circle unexpectedly appeared. This was Wang Yang's first intention in striking the handsome youth and the strong man. Taking advantage of the opportunity to slap them, he used his finger damp with vinegar to draw a tiny circle on the right arm of the handsome youth and the strong man. The vinegar on his fingertip was already very thin, and after drawing the circle on the dark, coarse linen cloth, it further evaporated in the air, making it difficult to discern with the naked eye. However, once the residual vinegar was heated, the moisture would evaporate, increasing the concentration of vinegar, making the mark easier to see. Moreover, cloth will turn scorched black upon reaching a certain temperature, a temperature point also known as the carbonization temperature, and cloth that has absorbed vinegar has a lower carbonization temperature than normal cloth. Thus, when roasted by a flame, the areas with vinegar would show scorch marks first. Linen is also a type of cloth, and in medieval texts, wherever cloth is mentioned, a large part of this refers to hemp fibers used for spinning. Hemp spinning does not necessarily produce inferior cloth. For example, cannabis and jute are spun into coarse cloth, while ramie can be spun into high-grade textiles. The price is not cheap either. Details later. This reasoning was nothing strange to Wang Yang, but these soldiers did not understand. They were all greatly surprised upon seeing it. They thought it was really something like a secret message from northern spies. Thus, they became even more convinced of Wang Yang's identity as a member of the Langyuan clan. If he weren't someone important, how could he know such things? The burly man and the handsome youth couldn't see the situation on cloth. They just kept shouting abuse. To expose Wang Yang, the handsome youth, in his desperation, even claimed that Wang Yang had committed murder and was involved in a major case. The burly man shouted that Wang Yang intended to rebel. In short, they said whatever would grab attention. Yet they didn't know that these panicked, exaggerated claims only made their words less credible. And it also undermined their previous assertions about Wang Yang's false identity, the credibility of their testimony. The squad leader had no mind to pay attention to the nonsense of these two. He quickly asked, "May I ask, young sir, what does this pattern mean?" Wang Yang said, "This is the sun. The northern barbarians have worshipped the sun and moon since ancient times. Don't you know that in the records of the grand historian, it says, the Chanyu leaves his tent in the morning, worships the rising sun, and in the evening worships the moon?" The squad leader had never read any such work as the records of the grand historian. He only shook his head. Wang Yang, however, spoke with even more convincing gravity. "Do you know how many northern spies cross the border each year? And how many informants they have recruited? Even in the army, they have their moles. Otherwise, as soon as I saw you, I would have exposed them immediately. Why wait until now?" This was a question Wang Yang had intended to explain earlier, and it was also a significant point of suspicion about him. If those four truly were northern spies, then why hadn't Wang Yang revealed the truth from the very beginning? Wang Yang had already prepared a story for this matter, but offering the explanation proactively would seem too deliberate. Now, seizing upon this topic, he casually mentioned it as if unintentional. It sounded more natural that way. The squad leader had been suspicious of this matter before, but he hadn't found a chance to ask. Now hearing Wang Yang's reasonable words, a lot of his doubts dissipated. Wang Yang continued, "Many northern spies have entered our land. Their group is diverse, and they don't belong to each other. For ease of recognition, some will have secret marks sewn into their right sleeves to confirm their identities. If several travel together, the one with the mark leads. The one without is the follower. This is a state secret, and I can only say so much. If you think you've lived long enough, feel free to spread it around." No, absolutely not. I would never dare to spread it." The squad leader bowed in fear. Wang Yang noticed that this was the first time the squad leader had called himself your humble servant. Liar. He's a liar. Don't believe him. His surname isn't Wang. He killed people, several of them. He's a fake. He's an impostor. Impostor. He's plotting a rebellion. The strong man and a handsome youth screamed wildly about usurping the throne. They spoke recklessly, even becoming somewhat hysterical. Wang Yang glanced at the two who were flailing about, desperately wanting him dead. He hardened his heart and asked the squad leader, "How should we deal with these two?" The squad leader said, "Take them back. Interrogate them strictly." Wang Yang shook his head. "Too troublesome." "Then what does the young master mean?" Wang Yang remained silent, only looking at Editor Su's corpse. The squad leader followed Wang Yang's gaze. Startled, he said, "This isn't against the rules? Since they are northern spies, taking them back, we can always get something out of them." Wang Yang looked at the squad leader with a half smile. "Rules? When we first met, without even asking, you shot and killed 2 people, and you wanted to hand over the captured people to your superior for entertainment. What kind of rule is that?" The squad leader looked somewhat embarrassed. He hurriedly explained, "Night travel is forbidden in Aculan. Earlier, the sky was too dark. There's also a document from Liang." Wang Yang waved his hand and said, "Don't worry. I don't meddle in such idle matters. I'm just reminding you. Keeping these 2 around might not be a good thing. They don't know what to say and what not to say. Wang, you bastard. Your whole family will die a miserable death. You plot against people. All that education went to waste. XXXXXX. Don't believe him. He's not from the Wang family of Langya. You bunch of idiots. You've all been fooled by him. XXXXX. I'll XXXX." The burly man and the handsome youth grew frantic. Their insults became more and more vile. Wang Yang lowered his voice and said, "See? Both of them are diehards. If you take them back, don't expect to get anything out of them. They won't even admit to being spies. Then they'll spout nonsense in their confessions. By then, you might not only fail to earn merit, but end up in trouble instead. Kill them. Then you'll have killed 4 northern spies. But take them back, and you're bringing back 2 disasters. But there's too little evidence of their espionage. If there's no confession, just relying on that Sun secret mark. No need for the Sun secret mark or anything. I will testify for you. We have the testimony of the Langya Wang clan. This is the greatest evidence. I vouch for the spy identities of the 4. You and your men kill the spies to save me. A great merit." The squad leader retreats to advance. He was waiting for these words, immediately bowed his head and cupped his fists, saying, "As you command." Then he ordered, "Third brother, Dingjiu, now following young Master Wang's order, kill these 2 spies." Wang Yang knew the squad leader deliberately emphasized it was on his orders. He didn't mind. These 2 had to be eliminated. The burly man goes without saying. He is ruthless and without limits, and caused Su Bian's death, deserving even death. The handsome young man's evil deeds were not too severe, but he exposed his identity as a fake vagrant first, then accused him of falsely claiming the Langya Wang surname. Pure petty person mentality. If his own luck were worse, if dragged into the water by him, you probably wouldn't even know how you died. If you protect someone like that, it's hard to guarantee that it won't lead to the scenario of the farmer and the snake. Upon receiving the order, Lao San and Ding Jiu walked toward the sturdy man and the handsome young man with knives. When the 2 saw that they were really about to act immediately, their legs turned to jelly from fear. The handsome young man cried out, Dr. Wang, I was wrong. Brother Wang, I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. I'll listen to you from now on. I'll be your assistant. I don't want to die. I just transmigrated. I'm the protagonist." The sturdy man, on the other hand, was much tougher. "You've all been fooled by him. He is the northern spy. He's the biggest northern spy. Report him to the general, and you will surely be heavily rewarded." At that moment, the blade was already against his neck. The sturdy man knew his end was near. He glared and roared, "You little brat. You've broken the law of the crime of intentional homicide. Instigating murder, you will never return. You shall come to no good end." The blade sliced both their throats in an instant. Their curses ceased abruptly. Wang Yang turned his back. He felt his limbs cold and numb, as if all his strength had been drained away. This was the first time he had taken a life, but he did not regret it. Surviving in ancient times after crossing over had never been an easy thing. Wang Yang had always known that. The squad leader said, "Please come with us, young Master Wang, to meet our Captain Shui." Wang Yang still kept his back turned. He snorted coldly. See him? A petty low-ranking officer. Not worthy of my visit. Go back now and tell him I am here. Have him come to see me immediately. Wang Yang was not trying to put on airs. It was that his body was weak, and his legs were somewhat numb. He feared showing his weakness before these soldiers. More importantly, he actually did not want to see any captain. His words might fool these soldiers. It's hard to say whether we can fool that squad leader Shui. He hoped the squad leader would take all these soldiers away. Then he could take the chance to slip away. The squad leader saw how arrogant Wang Yang was being and became even more deferential. Yes, yes, I'll go right now. Wang Yang saw the squad leader gathering his men to leave, and his heart leaped with joy. But who would have thought that the squad leader had only taken one step before turning back and saying, in such a wilderness, how could the young master not have a guard? Without even asking Wang Yang's opinion, he directly ordered, Lao San, Ding Jiao, you two stay and attend to the young master. The dark-skinned man, holding a spear, promptly said, Squad leader, those 4 corpses still need to be decapitated and gathered. When Lao San and Ding Jiao do this, they cannot protect the young master. Let me stay as well. Ding Jiao shot a glance at the dark-skinned man. Wang Yang, meanwhile, was silently groaning in his heart. The squad leader thought for a moment and said, all right. Then in an extremely low voice, he said, be careful, don't let him escape. The dark man nodded. The squad leader led the men back to camp. He glanced at the scrawny soldier beside him. Xiao Chan spit it out. Don't beat around the bush. Xiao Chan kept pace with the squad leader and said, Chief, I think this is tricky. No matter how well he talks, it's still just empty words. What if those two were right? Then the squad leader slowed his pace. Let me ask you, is it better if those two are northern spies or not? Xiao Chan hesitated briefly, then said without a doubt, of course it's better if they're northern spies. Killing 4 spies surely gets us some credit, maybe even a reward. Then what the hell are you asking? Xiao Chan frowned. But what if that guy really is an impostor? You idiot. We're just going back to report. True or false, Captain Shui will decide. Wang Wenchu's judgment has nothing to do with us. The squad leader turned around and shouted loudly. Listen up, everyone. When you get back, keep your mouths shut tight. Remember what to say and what not to say. This is about your own hide. Don't end up harming yourself and your brothers. Dadu, I'm especially talking to you. You got no filter. Watch your step. The forest wind rustled softly as the morning moon rose. The dark-skinned man with a spear somehow found a large flat-topped stone. Sweating heavily, he carried it in front of Wang Yang. Then he earnestly wiped the stone's surface with his sleeve. He said eagerly to Wang Yang, Young master, please sit here and rest for a while. I'll go find you some water to drink. Water's here. Ding Jiao held up a brown water pouch, jogging over with a face full of smiles. Young master, this is fresh mountain spring water I just fetched. Please quench your thirst, young master. Wang Yang had no mind to pay attention to their flattery. Claiming to be from Langya was just a temporary measure. Soon he would have to deal with a team leader who seemed even harder to handle. What was worse, he still had no idea which dynasty he was in. All he knew was a broad range, the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties. And the Eastern Qi and Southern dynasties were later referred to as the 5 dynasties, including 5 regimes established south of the Yangtze River. They were the Eastern Qi, Song, Qi, Liang, and Shun. Among these 5 dynasties, Wang Yang was most familiar with the Eastern Qi and Shun. Next came the Song and Liang. The least familiar was the Qi dynasty, the shortest lived, and most politically chaotic of the 5. So Wang Yang most wished to have traveled to the Eastern Qi. He didn't choose the Chun because it was the last dynasty of the southern dynasties. What if he ended up in the time when the Sui conquered the Chun? Once a great war broke out, blood would flow like water. Whether he could even survive was uncertain. No, he had to figure out which of the 5 dynasties it was before that team leader Shui arrived. Only then could he fabricate lies that hit the mark. But how could he find out? Asking directly was certainly not appropriate. As a member of the prestigious Langyuan clan, could he possibly not even know the name of the dynasty? He could try to find some coins to look at. That still wouldn't work, as the currency system of the southern dynasties was chaotic. Old and new coins were used interchangeably, making it hard to distinguish. Wang Yang thought for a moment. A thought struck him. First, he sat down on a rock in a casual manner. Then he took the water skin. asked in a casual tone. How many years have you been soldiers? Ding 9 answered first. Your subordinate has been a garrison soldier for 5 years, the burly man said, in reply to the young master. I have served in the army for 8 years. Wang Yang said, Oh, then you're veterans. Why do you want to join the army? The dark-faced man and Ding Jio both looked at Wang Yang. Their eyes were strange. Oh no! Wang Yang immediately realized he had misspoken. He suddenly remembered that the Northern and Southern dynasties were still an era of the hereditary military system. The so-called hereditary soldiers refer to families that the imperial court forced into military service. Soldiers for generations, also known as military households, to expand the source of soldiers. They often forced criminals, those without coup, escaped households, slaves, and even barbarian captives into military households. Furthermore, the government assigned heavy corvée labor to military households with poor treatment. To prevent them from fleeing, they were strictly controlled through coercion. Thus, the social status of soldiers became increasingly low, to the point where they were even worse off than ordinary commoners. The reason these two men became soldiers was naturally because their fathers and grandfathers had been soldiers. This was common knowledge known to all, which is why the two men found their own question strange. After realizing his mistake, Wang Yang calmly added, Oh, so you're from military families, not commoners who enlisted voluntarily. In Liu Yushi's Inscription of the Humble Room, there's a famous line. In conversation, I have great scholars in my comings and goings, no untutored commoners. Here, untutored commoners means an ignorant person, but during the Northern and Southern dynasties, Biding specifically referred to commoners recruited into the army. The Northern and Southern dynasties implemented a hereditary soldier system alongside a mercenary system. The so-called mercenary enlistment was actually conscription, but if upon enlistment they immediately became soldier households, forcing future generations to be soldiers permanently, then who would ever enlist? Therefore, the court decreed that enlisted soldiers form separate units. Their families were not soldier households, and their household registration was not entered into the military register. In short, they remained free. Wang Yang thought he had smoothly changed the subject. Little did he know that soldier's son military household descendant was a term with considerable derogatory connotation at the time, almost like an insult. It was one thing for soldiers themselves to be from military households, but another thing entirely to openly reveal it. Moreover, Biding were only recruited during specific periods, and once recruited, they were generally only responsible for combat, whereas people like Black Han and Ding Jio, who guarded forts and toiled on patrols, were generally military household sons. Thus, Wang Yang's attempt to save face was not clever, though it's normal for a young noble to look down on military households. Offending people at a time like this was not wise. Ding Jio's face flushed red. A hint of anger appeared between his brows. The dark-skinned man gave a bitter smile and said, You're right, young master. How could we be lucky enough to be commoners? Wang Yang sensed the tense atmosphere. Although he didn't know the exact reason, he guessed that he had misspoken. If he could choose, he would have preferred to keep his mouth shut. But to extract information about the dynasty, he had to continue the awkward conversation. So do you know how to read? Wang Yang asked casually, as if making small talk. Ding Jio's face twitched. His anger grew more apparent. He felt that this spoiled young master was mocking them. Even among ordinary households, few were literate, let alone their military household. He then said gruffly, No. Wang Yang could hear Ding Jio's displeasure. He pretended not to notice. The dark-skinned man still showed no anger. He smiled ingratiatingly and said, I know a few. Wang Yang Shallallahu Alaihi Wasallam he han respond. Delighted inside, he acted surprised and said, What is your name? You can actually read? That's rare. You flatter me, young master. My name is He Han. In order to teach my own daughter, I picked up a bit haphazardly. Altogether, I don't know many characters. Wang Yang looked He Han up and down. He thought to himself, He Han. Truly, the name fits the person. He Han, let me test you. What does our reign title mean? Having chatted idly, Wang Yang finally got to the point. Asked about the reign title, He Han looked a bit embarrassed. These reign titles are all decided by the officials in the capital. How would I, a lowly person, understand that? Wang Yang said, it's fine. Just say whatever comes to mind. Heihan thought for a moment. Summoning his courage, he said, it means forever, forever bright. Forever bright, forever bright. Wang Yang pondered these 4 words repeatedly. Suddenly a shock ran through his heart. Damn, could it be Yongming? Seeing Wang Yang's expression turn strange, the dark-faced man quickly said, I was just babbling nonsense. Please, sir, enlighten me. Wang Yang steadied his nerves and asked, first, tell me what the reign title is. Yongming. The dark-faced man himself sounded unsure even when saying the reign title. It really is Yongming, damn it. This was among the 5 dynasties. The reign title, he was least familiar with that of Southern Qi. Why was he least familiar with Southern Qi? Because Southern Qi had the shortest history among the Eastern Jin and Southern dynasties. Its political situation, the most chaotic, worse still, he had no idea what that chaos even entailed. He only remembered that Mr. Qin Mu, in his outline of national history, had commented on the Qi dynasty with a tone of disdain, saying it had a fate among its figures, the worst of all the Southern dynasties. By fate, he meant the dynasty's mandate and fortune. Qin Mu thus dismissed it as, the lowest is certainly for a reason. Don't even ask about being the lowest. He was completely lost. He didn't even know who the emperor was, how many emperors there had been, who the ministers were, what major events had occurred. He had no idea about any of it. He only knew that the Southern Qi dynasty had a very short existence before being replaced by the Liang dynasty. And the reason he had heard of it at all, the era name, Yongming, was purely because there was something in ancient literary history called the Yongming style, which pioneered later regulated verse, also known as modern-style poetry. But what good was knowing that? Wang Yang would rather trade this useless piece of knowledge for a genealogy of the Southern Qi emperors, or something at least knowing the exact year the dynasty fell would be fine. Master Wang, Master Wang. The dark-skinned man's voice pulled Wang Yang back to reality. May I ask, sir, what exactly is the meaning of the era name Yongming? The dark-skinned man asked, and Ding Jiu let out a yawn. A poor military household like yours, impoverished for generations, actually study scholarship? What does the reign title mean to you? What are you asking for? Besides, Yongming is just 2 characters. Can he explain anything more? Wang Yang es mud darkenet. He said casually, eternal brightness. The dark man said, I see, his tone tinged with slight disappointment. Ding Jiu chuckled inwardly. Indeed, he didn't say anything special. The silence around him made Wang Yang realize he was still pretending to be from the Langyuan clan. Details determine success or failure. Can't afford to be careless. He cleared his throat and said, the Book of Songs, Greater Odes, says, bright and shining, with radiance vast, high-minded and of noble end. It also says, may the nobleman live 10,000 years. Forever grant blessings to his descendants. In the Songs of Chu, the Recalling the Soul says, orchid cream and bright candles, all splendidly arrayed. Therefore, the ancients traveled with candles, longing to make the night eternal. The dark man, Ding Jiu, was momentarily stunned. All joy desires to last long. All light wishes to endure forever. Thus, feasts that stretch into the night never cease, and wishes for 10,000 years fill the years. What is called eternal brightness is actually the sincere blessing of a gentleman, hoping that our South, that our great Qi's bright virtue shines brilliantly, and its reign endures for ages. Wang Yang, caught up in his display of learning, almost referred to our dynasty as Southern Qi. But Southern Qi is a name used by later generations. The Southern dynasty, which considered itself the legitimate one, would never prefix its dynastic name with the character Southern. Fortunately, Wang Yang quickly caught himself. Otherwise, even if it didn't reveal his origins, it would still be a crime of disrespect. Wang Yang rambled on, quoting classics and ancient texts. The dark-skinned man listened with shining eyes, bowed his head, and said, young master, your vast knowledge has truly opened my eyes. Although Ding Jiu was still somewhat displeased by Wang Yang's earlier exposure of his shortcomings, yet he couldn't pass up the chance to curry favor. So he knelt and cupped his hands in flattery, saying, young master, how impressive your mind is full of learning. and every word that leaves your mouth is a literary gem. Just then, hurried footsteps rang out, and more than 20 men swiftly approached. In the night, torches flickered. Wang Yang's heart leaped. Here they come. At the lead was a stubble-faced man. He wasn't wearing the armor commonly seen in period dramas, but rather a wide-sleeved robe that reached his knees, with a hem that hung like a skirt and a small cap on his head. From a modern perspective, this outfit might seem odd and mismatched, hardly fitting for a soldier. But in reality, wearing robes in the military was quite common during the Northern and Southern dynasties. As for the small cap on his head, it was also called a flat turban, a style often seen in TV dramas set in the pre-Qin era. As this man walked toward Wang Yang, he looked him up and down. Wang Yang noticed that there was no trace of reverence in the man's eyes. Wang Yang waited for the man to approach. Before he could speak, Wang Yang grabbed the water pouch with his right hand and hurled it straight at his face. The sudden move caught the man off guard. He dodged back quickly, and the water pouch hit the ground, splashing open. The soldiers were all stunned. Wang Yang stood up and cursed him out loud. How do you even lead your troops? The emperor has long issued an edict. Border defense must be strict, sentries must be vigilant. A northern spy stayed in your territory for 2 days, and you didn't even notice? Do you take the emperor's words as wind passing your ears? The man was drenched with water, and anger flared up. He was about to lash out, but then heard Wang Yang mention the emperor's edict. He froze at once. As a low-ranking officer, he had never heard any imperial decree spoken directly. When he heard the final question, panic seized him. Taking the emperor's words as wind passing your ears. That was an accusation he could never afford to bear. He immediately went down on one knee. I wouldn't dare, I know nothing of this. The so-called imperial decree was, of course, fabricated by Wang Yang. Seeing how aggressive this man was, and fearing a difficult confrontation, he invoked the emperor to pin a charge and strike first. Wang Yang gave a cold snort. You can count yourself lucky. If your men hadn't killed the spy and earned merit, and also saved this young master, you wouldn't have gotten off even with 10 lives. But since the northern spy is already dead, I won't pursue this matter further. Thank you for your magnanimity, young master. The man quickly expressed his gratitude, then suddenly felt something was off. Wang Yang gave him no time to react. He walked up to him and continued his rebuke. I'll ask you again, you knew I was here. So why were you so late in coming? And when you did come, you didn't even bring a horse. Do you expect me to walk? Are you showing no respect for the Langyawang clan? The squad leader was a junior officer in the army at the time. Each squad ranged from dozens to hundreds of men. Normally, an infantry squad had 50 men. A cavalry squad had 30. Strictly speaking, the squad leader wasn't considered an official because it didn't even have a rank. At best, it was a low-level military post. If he served under a powerful family, his status would naturally be different. But someone like squad leader Shui, who had no connections and was stationed in the wilderness, was as common as shrimp across the country, let alone not daring to offend the Langyawang clan, even any other noble family. A single hair of theirs was thicker than his waist. Squad leader Shui repeatedly expressed fear. I wouldn't dare, I wouldn't dare. How could I, a humble man, be rude to the young master? But there are no horses in the camp. I truly could do nothing about it. In a society of powerful clans, status was determined by the prestige of one's surname. The Langyawang clan, whether they held office or not, Captain Shui, as a commoner, would have to humble himself as lowly one when meeting a noble. In Jiangnan, horses are scarce, and warfare is primarily infantry-based. The proportion of cavalry is extremely low. Sometimes, an army of tens of thousands is only equipped with a few hundred cavalry, truly not enough to form a sizable force. Wang Yang saw that even Captain Shui hadn't come on horseback, and he already guessed the reason. So he was just deliberately finding a pretext to accuse him, to intimidate him. If Captain Shui really found a horse, he would have to come up with an excuse. After all, he didn't know how to ride a horse. Wang Yang said coldly, "What is your surname? What is your name? When did you become captain?" This humble officer's surname is Shui, given name Ling. I was promoted to captain in the 4th month of Yongming's 6th year. Do you know how many years you've been captain? I know. In a little over 10 days. It will be exactly 2 years. Wang Yang finally extracted the current time. The 4th month of Yongming's 8th year. He said coldly, "You actually know you've been captain for 2 years. It's me here. If it were my elder cousin, they could just fabricate a charge and have you executed. You would even know how you died." Yes, yes, yes. Ling's back went cold. He could only keep nodding in agreement. He had never in his life met noble clans like Wang, Xie, Yuan, or Shao. Based on sheer imagination, he felt Wang Yang's words were quite plausible. After all, in the eyes of these highborns, his life was probably worth no more than a weed. Still, your men did save me. I'm not one to forget a favor. Enough, you may rise. Tired. Find me a place to rest. Ling felt as if he'd been granted a pardon. He hurriedly led Wang Yang back to the camp. The more he thought about it along the way, the more wrong it felt. He had come to question the details, to verify truth from falsehood. But he hadn't asked a single question. Instead, he had been interrogated himself. Judging by this man's speech and bearing, he didn't seem like an impostor. Forget everything else, just look at that line in the emperor's edict. Even if he read it word by word, he probably wouldn't be able to recite it smoothly. This young master just blurted it out effortlessly. There must be some trick to it. Besides, if it were really fake, he would surely try to escape, or come up with an excuse to get away from these soldiers. But he just brazenly followed us back to camp. That doesn't seem like someone with a guilty conscience. Better wait for Wang Yang to return to camp. After all, that old fellow has read some books. Let's see if he can spot anything suspicious. In truth, Wang Yang also wanted to leave. He even thought of directly ordering Ling to back off, telling them not to follow him. But if he did that, Ling would surely get suspicious. To keep him calm, he had no choice but to head back to camp with him first. He'd figure something out later. The night was cool as water. Inside the tent, Wang Yang and squad leader Shui sat behind a worn-down desk, with the sergeant standing before the desk, bowing slightly as he said something. Wait, say that again. What official position did he say his second uncle held? Wang Wenshu leaned forward. The squad leader tried to recall and said, "It seemed to be Sanchi something sure. Sanchi Changshu? Oh, right. That sounds about right. Wang Wenshu frowned. It seems to be that. The squad leader's gaze gradually became firm. Can you be sure? Wang Wenshu stared at the squad leader. The squad leader nodded, more or less. What's wrong? Did you find something? Captain Shui asked nervously. Wang Wenshu concentrated and did not answer. Then he said to the squad leader, "You may go now." The squad leader saluted and exited the tent. Captain Shui said urgently, "What did you figure out? Spit it out. You're trying to kill me with curiosity." Wang the scribe fixed his gaze. This man should be an impostor. What? Captain Shui shot to his feet. His eyes were wide open. Are you serious? Why joke about something like this? I just returned from the prefectural office. The current attendant in ordinary is Xiao Rui, the Prince of Nanping, who also holds the position of General of the Valiant Cavalry. It's definitely not the Langyuan clan. Team leader Shui kicked over the table with one foot. Steam rose from the wooden barrel, filling the tent with warmth and humidity. Wang Yang had just finished bathing, standing beside the wooden barrel with his arms outstretched. The dark-skinned man was dressing Wang Yang. Ding Jiao was combing Wang Yang's hair and tying it into a top knot. It wasn't that Wang Yang wanted to experience the decadent, noble lifestyle, but rather, first, he needed to fit the persona of the Langyuan clan, and second, he genuinely had to learn how to dress and tie his hair. As for the top knot, that goes without saying. He had never grown his hair long in his entire life. As for dressing, ancient clothing was different from modern clothes, so the way to put them on was naturally different as well. The clothes he was now changing into were new ones that team leader Shui had not yet worn. The top was a short blue cloth garment. Below was a pair of black, closed-crotch trousers. This outfit was hardly considered high quality in that era. Moreover, it didn't fit Wang Yang's figure. But it was still much better than the coarse linen clothes he had worn before. Ow! Wang Yang felt a pain at the back of his head. Be gentle. Yes, yes. Your humble servant will be careful. I'll be careful. Ding Jiao's thick fingers gathered Wang Yang's hair. This process was uncomfortable for both Ding Jiao and Wang Yang. Ouch! Wang Yang felt a tight squeeze around his waist. It turned out that Darkhan had tied the belt too tight. What's wrong, young master? Darkhan asked, completely unaware. Wang Yang sighed inwardly. When others time travel, They get beautiful maids attending to them. But for me, I get two coarse men to annoy me. Just as he was about to send the two away, he heard the squad leader call out loudly from outside the tent. "Young Master Wang, our company commander invites you." Wang Yang, with dark Han, and Ding Jiu, was guided by the squad leader, swaggered into Captain Shue's tent. As soon as he entered, he sensed something was off. Captain Shue was no longer as ingratiating as before. He didn't even stand up to welcome him. There was also a man in his 40s in the tent. His face was unfamiliar, dressed in clean indigo cloth clothes, dressed as a scholar, staring at him with a half-smile. Recalling that the squad leader's attitude had also been strange, Wang Yang's heart sank. Could they be suspicious of him? Had his fake identity been exposed so soon? The unfamiliar scholar smiled and said, "Seeing the elegance of the Langya prince's son today is truly a stroke of luck." Though the words were pleasant, the mockery was obvious. His tone lacked any respect. Although Wang Yang was anxious inside, he knew this was not the time to show weakness. He clasped his hands behind his back and slowly walked up to the scholar. He spoke, "You stand up." The scholar's smile froze. Ding Jiu hurriedly said upon seeing this, "This is our team's clerk Wang." "A clerk? You say he's a clerk?" Wang Yang transformed into an Oscar-winning actor, putting on an arrogant, barely suppressed smirk, as if one might mistake him for some noble scholar official who had just arrived. "So he's just a clerk? Ha ha ha. Even the secretaries of the Department of State Affairs have no right to sit in my presence. And you, a petty little functionary of no significance, think you deserve to sit and talk to me?" A flash of anger crossed Clerk Wang's face, then vanished. He smiled faintly and said, "Young master, your tone is quite arrogant. But then again, since your esteemed uncle holds the title of Cavalier Attendant, it's only natural that you look down on everyone else." "Oh no." Wang Yang felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He instantly realized where his flaw lay. The term Cavalier Attendant was a central power office of the Southern Dynasties. There was a saying about 3 bureaus and 5 departments. The 3 bureaus referred to the Grand Commandant, the Minister of Education, and the Minister of Works, the 3 highest ministerial offices. The 5 departments were the Department of State Affairs, the Department of the Secretariat, and the Department of the Chancellery. Secretariat and the Assembled Writings Bureau. The Assembled Writings Bureau has the Cavalier Attendant in ordinary as its chief official. Hence, it is also called the Cavalier Bureau. As the head of one of the 5 bureaus, the Cavalier Attendant in ordinary, his name must be circulated down to the prefectures and commanderies. If one is diligent, it can certainly be investigated. Back then, to intimidate those soldiers, he was too hasty and did not think it through carefully. Otherwise, he would never have given his non-existent second uncle such a conspicuous official position. Can't panic, must think of a way to fix this quickly. On this side, squad leader Shue could no longer hold back. Slapping the table, he was about to order the soldiers to seize Wang Yang. Wang Yang blinked, pretending to be angry. "What? Are you mocking that my uncle is not a Cavalier Attendant in ordinary? My family has been gentlemen for generations. We naturally can advance steadily, effortlessly attain high office. Why haggle over official rank? So what if he's not a Cavalier Attendant in ordinary?" Wang Wenshu was taken aback and blurted out, "What? Isn't your second uncle a Sanchi Changshu?" Wang Yang said slowly, "Who told you my second uncle is a Sanchi Changshu?" Wang Wenshu and squad leader Shue both turned to look at the sergeant. The sergeant hurriedly said, I remember it was." Wang Yang looked at the squad leader. His gaze was cold and intimidating. "Was what? I clearly told you. My second uncle is a Sanchi Shurlang. What is your motive for exaggerating his official position? Not counting honorary titles, in most cases, the true head of the Sanchi province. The Sanchi Changshu numbered only 1, although there were occasionally 2 holding the position simultaneously. The maximum never exceeded 4. However, the number of subordinate Sanchi Shurlang was not small, and when adding the extra Sanchi Shurlang and the acting Sanchi Shurlang, it could sometimes reach over 10. Although Wang Yang was unfamiliar with the history of Southern Qi, but the political systems of the 6 dynasties were highly persistent in nature. He used the official system of the Jin and Song dynasties to infer the Southern Qi system, and it turned out to be pretty much the same. He didn't believe this clerk knew all the names of the scattered cavalry attendants. Clerk Wang shouted angrily at the squad leader. "Speak the truth now." The squad leader was terrified and fell to his knees. I, I don't know, sir." Clerk Wang stared nervously at the two dark men. "Dark Han, Ding Jiao." What exactly did Master Wang say back then? Ding Jiao was trying hard to recall. Dark Han hesitated for only 2 seconds. Then he knelt and cupped his fists. "To answer your honor," Master Wang said, "scattered cavalry attendant." Wang Yang was somewhat surprised. He thought, could he have remembered wrong? Are you really sure?" Clerk Wang's voice trembled slightly. Dark Han kowtowed and said, "Absolutely certain. I remember it clearly. It was those 4 characters. I was even thinking about it at the time. I've heard of the attendant cavalier. But what exactly is a gentleman attendant?" Wang Yang didn't know why the dark-skinned man was lying. But now is not the time to dwell on it. He nodded and said, "At least there's one sensible person here." Ding Jiao really couldn't remember. What were the 2 characters after attendant? But seeing Wang Yang praise the dark-skinned man, he immediately said, "I remember too. It's gentleman attendant cavalier." The clerk Wen-shu stood up in shock. He bowed deeply to Wang Yang. "Wang Luo of Zhejiang, I did not recognize your honored status. My words were reckless and offensive. I beg your forgiveness, my lord." During the Northern and Southern dynasties, when introducing oneself, one had to state one's place of origin before the surname. Whether one was noble or common could often be inferred just from the place of origin. For example, for the surname Wang to be noble, it would either be the Wang clan of Langya or the Wang clan of Taiyuan. Below them were the Beihai Wang clan, the Shanyang Wang clan, the Donghai Wang clan, and so on. This Wang Luo may also share the surname Wang, but when you add Zhejiang before it, his name becomes worthless. Wang Yang said coldly, "This is not your place to sit. Get down now." Yes, yes. Please calm your anger. Noble sir, please calm your anger." The clerk Wang quickly got up and left. He also used his sleeve to wipe the seat clean. "In fiting Wang Yang du sit." Wang Yang sat down as if no one else was there. The clerk Wang asked cautiously, "May I ask, young Master Wang, what is your uncle's personal name?" A sneer curled at the corner of Wang Yang's mouth, imitating the overbearing protagonists in web novels. His eyes held 3 parts disdain, 3 parts slight anger. "Who do you think you are to inquire about my family elder's name?" The clerk Wang was so terrified he dared not even lift his head. He stammered. This humble one was too forward. Too forward. Wang Yang glanced at Captain Shui, who was still bewildered, and asked, "Captain Shui, what did you mean by slamming the table just now?" Although Captain Shui didn't understand what was happening, seeing how drastically the clerk Wang's attitude had changed, and also knew there were hidden circumstances, hastily said, "I was reprimanding Clerk Wang. Show no disrespect to the young master." Wang Yang sneered, "Captain Shui, you are indeed a man who knows propriety. But according to the rule that those of scholar and commoner status should not sit together, for us to sit side by side like this is also a breach of etiquette, is it not?" During the Northern and Southern dynasties, bloodline and family status were of utmost importance. There was a saying, "The divide between scholar officials and commoners is as vast as heaven and earth," meaning the gap between the aristocratic class and common surnames was as wide as the distance between the sky and the earth. Not to mention that Captain Shui is merely a low-ranking military officer. Even if one day he were extremely fortunate and rose to high office, he still would not be fit for the company of noble families. This had nothing to do with the size of one's official position, but only with bloodline and family status. Clerk Wang quickly shot Captain Shui a meaningful glance. Captain Shui shot up immediately, in his haste, nearly bumping into the table. "What on earth is wrong with you? Didn't you say he was definitely a fake?" After seeing off Wang Yang, Captain Shui flew into a rage. Then, imitating Clerk Wang's tone of voice, he said in a pinched voice, "Would I joke about something like this?" But what happened? Not only did he crack a joke, it was a huge joke. "If you want to die, don't drag me into it." Wang Wen-shu had a pained expression. "I thought his uncle was a Sanchi Changshi, a court official, didn't I? Who knew he was a Sanchi Shirlang? I've heard that among the court's Sanchi Shirlang, there's a member of the Wang clan of Langya. It might be his second uncle." After thinking, he added, "Could it be that he heard this news somewhere and is deliberately bluffing?" Then he shook his head. "It shouldn't be. steady advancement. Sitting among high officials and commoners and nobles do not sit together. This is not something an ordinary person could fabricate. Captain Shui tapped the desk. I say, do you have any clue or not? Secretary Wang muttered a few more words to himself, rubbing his temples. That is hard to say, really hard to say, but better to believe it exists than to disbelieve it. If we truly offend the Wang clan, then I might end up, Captain Shui said anxiously. Then what do you suggest we do? Scribe Wang paced back and forth. Now we have two options. First, we report it through normal procedures. Second, we verify it ourselves. Then let us report it. The moment Captain Shui heard verify, he got a headache, fearing it would end as embarrassingly as before. Scribe Wang said, Captain, have you thought it through? If we report it, it goes to Battalion Commander Huang. Then Battalion Commander Huang will definitely come to take the person himself. And we won't have any say in the matter anymore. Captain Shui sat up straight. No say? Explained clearly. What do you mean? Scribe Wang's eyes burned with intensity. This is the Wang clan, after all. Figures you might never encounter in a lifetime. Not to mention us, even Battalion Commander Huang is the garrison commander of the entire Aku garrison. Even if you fought tooth and nail, you still wouldn't be able to see him. You and I, we have no roots, no foundation. We'll muddle along until we die, and this is all we'll ever be. But if we could climb the big tree of the Wang clan, Squad Leader Shui's eyes lit up when he heard this. Then they dimmed again. But the problem is, would they look up to us? Ordinarily, naturally they wouldn't. But he's in trouble now. This is exactly the time when he needs our help. Help? How can we help? Send him to Jiankong to find his uncle? We don't have that kind of ability. Squad Leader Shui said dejectedly. Wang Wenshu waved his hand. We certainly don't have the means to send him to the capital to find his relatives. But we do have the ability to take him to Jingzhou City. Captain Shui was puzzled. You mean Jiangling? What's the use of going to Jiangling? I just came back from Jiangling not long ago. I heard that someone from the Wang clan came to town a while ago. That Wang Tai is an extraordinary figure of great importance. He used to be a high-ranking official in the Sita Mansion. His father and grandfather were both among the 3 excellencies and 9 ministers. It's said his brother-in-law is the current emperor's younger brother, the Prince of Jiangxia, Xiao Feng, the inspector of Southern Qi province. That's our prince. If you go by seniority, you have to call him uncle. Is that so? Captain Shui looked as if he had just heard some political secret. What official post did he come to Jingzhou for? He's not here for an official post. It seems he's come to recuperate. Or maybe he has property here. Anyway, he doesn't live in the new city. He lives over in the old city to the northwest. Countless civil and military officials in Jingzhou City, noble families, and gentry came in a stream to visit him. But they were all turned away. I heard even the young master of the Liu clan from Hudong couldn't get an audience. We can just take this little playboy there, as long as we get through the Wang family's door. Our value? Heh heh. Clerk Wang chuckled smugly. Captain Shui looked puzzled. Status? This isn't about buying a slave or servant. Why talk about status? Clerk Wang chuckled. That's a metaphor, Captain. During the Easter Han, the famous scholar Li Ying enjoyed great renown. Guests who managed to enter his hall were said to have ascended the Dragon Gate. Their status soared from then on. If we can ascend the Wang Gate, the principle is the same. If Wang Tai is grateful to us for rescuing his clansmen from danger, even better, then we just have to greet the officials in the prefecture, and we'll soar to the sky, won't we? Besides, aren't we still trying to verify whether he's genuine? That's perfect. Send him to the Wang clan to check. They'll surely be able to tell a fake from a real one. Saves us the trouble. Captain Shui grinned. Good. A scholar truly is different. But soon another thought occurred to him. He hesitated. What if that young wastrel makes excuses and refuses to go? While the clerk's gaze turned cold. Simply put, since the false monk dared not meet the true Buddha, then there's no need for us to go to Jiangling. After settling their discussion, the two came to find Wang Yang. They told him about the Wang clan living in Jiangling and said they would escort Wang Yang to Jiangling after daybreak. Wang Yang grew alert at once. This Wang the clerk spoke quite smoothly, calling it visiting relatives and kin and paying respects to the family, but really it was to verify his identity. If that Wang Tai Jiangling was truly of the Langyuan clan, then meeting him would surely expose his deception. Though uneasy inside, he showed nothing on his face. He agreed readily and without hesitation. Seeing Wang Yang show no fear, Wang the clerk and Captain Shui became even more certain of his Langyao Wang identity. Thinking they might soon gain a connection with the top noble clan, they were delighted. Wang the clerk immediately ordered prepared ink and brushes to be brought. Said respectfully, "Please, young master, write your name card." A name card was also called a name slip, similar to a modern business card. During the 6 dynasties, when paying a visit, one had to first present a name card, also known as presenting the card. Wang Yang had learned calligraphy since childhood, and as he grew up, he practiced copying calligraphic models without cease. All told, he had over a decade of skill. First, he studied Tang Dynasty regular script, then moving script and cursive. He had even won a modest award, so writing characters didn't faze him at all. As for the standard format of name cards in the 6 dynasties, he knew it, and had even seen actual name cards unearthed from the tomb of Zhu Ran, a general of Wu during the 3 Kingdoms period. Thus, he was no stranger to the format. The clerk Wang was somewhat excited. He had long heard that the calligraphy of the Wang clan of Langia was exquisite, producing famous masters generation after generation. Finally, he had a chance to witness it. Wang Yang picked up the brush and saw the clerk Wang watching eagerly from the side. At once he roused his spirits and wrote with a flourish, "Your kinsman Wang Yang bows twice. Respectfully inquires after your health." Langia. The character Jian, he poured all his lifelong skill into these dozen characters. The strokes were strong and vigorous. A classical charm flowed abundantly. Wang Yang was quite pleased as he finished the last stroke. He glanced at Wang Wenshu, who seemed somewhat stunned. Thinking to himself, it seemed his calligraphy had impressed the man. Not bad. Not bad. Those years of practicing copybooks hadn't been wasted after all. As he looked back at the name card, a thought suddenly struck him. The name card was certainly written in accordance with the customs of the time, but the problem was that his identity was fake, let alone the fact that he definitely wouldn't be found in the Langyao Wang clan's genealogy. He might not even pass the test of a simple conversation. Perhaps he should add a little twist to the name card, to leave a good impression on the other party, and also lay the groundwork for explaining his identity later. With that in mind, he picked up his brush and added a short poem. "The road home stretches endlessly. My sleeves never dry of tears. When we meet, there's no need to ask, just tell them I'm safe." Wang Yang knew that Xinshun's poem, meeting a messenger going to the capital, he had adapted it like this, and it could be described as utterly devoid of energy. But in order to lay the groundwork for disguising his identity, he had to make some sacrifices in the artistic standards of poetry. After Clerk Wang left, he was still somewhat dazed. Captain Shui asked, "Old Wang, you've been like this ever since you read his name card. What? Is his handwriting that good?" Seeing that Clerk Wang did not reply, Captain Shui raised his voice, "Old Wang." Clerk Wang was startled, finally snapping out of it. "What's the matter with you?" Clerk Wang looked puzzled and said, "That young master seems to be a man of literary understanding. But his handwriting, what about his handwriting?" Captain Shui pressed urgently. "His handwriting is far too ordinary." "What?" Captain Shui clearly hadn't expected such an answer. Clerk Wang shook his head repeatedly, as if talking to himself. "Ordinary, ordinary, extremely ordinary, extraordinarily ordinary. It was really quite ordinary. Could it be that I just don't know how to appreciate it?" After squad leader Shui returned to his tent, he unfastened his outer garment, preparing to rest. A voice from outside the tent said, "Squad leader, is it convenient now?" "May come in." Squad leader Shui heard the voice, smiled and said, "Come in." Black Han walked into the tent with a grin. Squad leader Shui teased, "Aren't you supposed to be attending to young Master Wang? Remember me?" Black Han pretended to be panicked and said, "How would I dare forget you, squad leader? Attending young Master Wang is also a way to share your burden, isn't it? All right, stop your nonsense. I know your little tricks all too well. You just want to get out of military service, don't you?" Squad leader Shui lay face down on the bed, and Black Han skillfully began to massage him. With his eyes closed, Squad leader Shui said lazily, "Look at how much grain prices have risen this year. So many people are so hungry they're eating flax. swallowing lotus roots. The treatment of military households is already bad enough. At least there are still flatbreads to eat. Every other day, you can have some wheat grits porridge. At least we won't starve. Besides, this year is special. In previous years, 3 to 5 shung of grain. We never shorted you a single day's worth. What else is there to be unsatisfied about? The dark-faced man massaged earnestly with his hands. A helpless smile appeared on his face. If it were just me, of course I'd be fine with anything. But there's still a girl at home. Oh, let's not talk about it, squad leader. Aren't you heading to Jiangling tomorrow? Can I come along as an escort? I can go home on the way and take my leave for this month. Didn't you just send grain home? Still sending grain? No grain to send. I just want to go home and see the girl. Squad leader Shui was enjoying the massage. He drawled, so as to go home and see the girl. Or is it to curry favor with that young wastrel? The dark-faced man chuckled. Both, he said. You people. Everyone thinks getting close to the gentry will bring benefits. That Ding Jiu also wants to go. He even gave me 5 liters of rations for it. But let me tell you all, don't get your hopes up too high. Maybe once he crosses his relative's threshold, he'll forget all about us, and we'll have wasted our time for nothing. The dark-skinned man kneaded the squad leader's shoulders with force. His ebony face flushed slightly from exhaustion, yet his eyes were full of hope. Wang Yang had a terrible night's sleep. Tossing and turning, he mulled over countermeasures, while drifting in and out of drowsiness. One moment he dreamt of squad leader Shui hauling him into the tent with a fierce look. The next of editor Su lying bloodily on the grass. He even dreamt of the handsome youth and the burly man traveling back to modern times, accusing him of murder in front of the media. He woke up abruptly 3 or 4 times during the night. This constant state of mental tension and the unprecedented psychological pressure also triggered a physical reaction of nausea. Fortunately, the common people at that time followed a 2-meal system, eating roughly once at around 8 in the morning, called the morning meal, and once more at around 4 in the afternoon, called the evening meal. So by the time Wang Yang arrived at the camp, he had successfully missed the meal times. Moreover, life in the military camp was hard, and Captain Shui simply couldn't provide Wang Yang with any decent food. As an extra meal otherwise, this nausea might have made him throw up immediately. Early in the morning, the dark-skinned man brought clear water to attend to Wang Yang's waking up. After Wang Yang washed his face, the man presented a small pinch of salt. Wang Yang thought for a moment and asked, "This is for brushing teeth?" The dark-skinned man nodded. The captain specially instructed it. Ordinary families could hardly bear to use salt for brushing teeth. Wang Yang had thought there was no toothbrushing back then. Recalling the term morning chewing of toothwood, he asked further, "Are there any willow twigs?" The swarthy man asked, confused. "What does the young master want willow twigs for? Don't you use willow twigs to brush your teeth?" The swarthy man was completely bewildered. Can willow twigs brush teeth? He thought to himself, so the noble families all use willow twigs to brush their teeth. When I get home, I'll tell my daughter about this. Wang Yang asked curiously, "Then what do you usually use to brush your teeth?" The swarthy man said, "Fingers, of course." Wang Yang suddenly understood. He then recalled that in the Tang Dynasty murals of the Mogao caves in Dunhuang, a monk was squatting on the ground, using his index finger to brush his teeth. So this was a norm for ancient people, he thought. In fact, by that time, noble families had already begun using toothbrushes. It's just that neither the swarthy man nor Wang Yang knew about it. The practice of using willow twigs for brushing teeth originated in Tianzhu, ancient India. Later, it was brought to China with the spread of Buddhism. At this time, it was only practiced by a few monks. It would only gradually become popular after the Sui and Tang dynasties. At that time, the most common way for ordinary people to brush their teeth was using their fingers, also known as rubbing the teeth. As a modern person, Wang Yang naturally wasn't used to using his fingers as a toothbrush, and in this tense moment, he had no mind to bother with brushing his teeth. So he simply asked for a cup of water, sprinkled in some salt, and rinsed his mouth to call it done. Ding Jiu brought Wang Yang his breakfast. This was Wang Yang's first meal after traveling back to ancient times. A bowl of barley porridge, a few small dried fish, a dish of salted vegetables, plus a boiled egg. Though this meal looked simple, it was pieced together by squad leader Shui and clerk Wang. The dried fish came from squad leader Shui's stockpile, which back then was also called dried fish or preserved fish. He had managed to get a jar with great difficulty and only ate 1 or 2 pieces occasionally. The egg was brought back by Clerk Wang last night. The hardest part to arrange, in fact, was this bowl of barley porridge. Ordinary soldiers could only drink a bowl of barley porridge every 2 days. But it was not the whole-grained, thick barley porridge that Wang Yang was eating. Rather, it was a thin porridge made from ground wheat. People at that time called it wheat dregs porridge. Making this bowl of barley porridge for Wang Yang had consumed the rations of several people. Wang Yang had no idea how hard it was to get this meal. All his attention was focused on visiting the Wang clan, the main branch of the family. Then, smelling the plate of dried fish, he found it extremely fishy and disgusting. So he didn't even touch it with his chopsticks. He only used the strangely flavored salted vegetables, which seemed to be mallow vegetables, to swallow the porridge. It was only to get a bit of salty taste. After a few mouthfuls of porridge, he looked up and happened to catch the drooling expressions of the Dark Man and Ding Jiao. Wang Yang recalled that the Dark Man had testified last night about the matter of the cavalier attendant. He said, "Dark fellow, take this plate of fish and eat it." The dark fellow was startled and quickly bowed. "I wouldn't dare. I was the one who gave it to you. What's there not to dare?" The dark fellow just shook his head. Wang Yang had no choice but to put on the airs of a young master. "This is a gift from me, the young master. You cannot refuse it." The dark fellow knelt and kowtowed. He received it with both hands respectfully, but he made no move to eat it. "Why aren't you eating?" Wang Yang asked. I want to take it home for my daughter to eat." Wang Yang nodded, seeing Ding Jiao staring intently at the dried fish. He said, "Ding Jiao, you did well too. I have nothing else to reward you with for now. Here, this egg is for you." Egg. Ding Jiao was taken aback. Wang Yang quickly realized. The term Jiden originated quite late. It seemed he had used it too early. "Oh, you call them jizi, don't you?" Ding Jiao nodded and said, "Also called chicken eggs." He thought eggs were a novelty term among the nobility. Not too concerned, he expressed his thanks. He took the egg, though he hadn't eaten one in a long time. He really wanted to eat it, but his face didn't show much joy. It's not scarcity that causes concern, but uneven distribution. Wang Yang realized that what he had just done wasn't handled well, but he didn't have the energy to think about it now. Because a greater crisis was coming soon, the great city loomed, its walls like long clouds. Wang Yang, squad leader Shui, Clerk Wang, the swarthy man. The 5 of them, including Ding Jiao, set out at dawn. By noon, they reached the gates of Jingzhou. Jingzhou was the largest prefecture south of the Yangtze, second only to the capital region of Yangzhou. Its territory spanned southern Qi, governing 10 commanderies. As the saying went, among the great towns south of the river, none surpassed Jing and Yang. The top commandery under Jingzhou was Nanjun. The foremost city under Nanjun was Jiangling, as the central capital of the entire Jingzhou and Nanjun regions. It was also known at the time as Jingzhou City and Nanjun City. It was the city Guan Yu lost through negligence, and the city Li Bai traveled 1,000 li to return to, all referring to this city. If it weren't for the matter of impersonating the Langya Wang clan, Wang Yang would have been quite willing to indulge in nostalgic thoughts of visiting ancient sites and take a good look at this historic city. But thinking that he would soon have to face the real Langya Wang clan, he lost all interest. He had been fabricating stories the entire way, rehearsing his words and checking for logical flaws. He had even concocted a family genealogy in his mind and forced himself to memorize the names of all relatives within 5 generations. But when it came down to it, he sadly realized that if things truly reached the point where he had to recite the 5-generation genealogy, there would basically be a foregone conclusion of failure.